Hey, good evening, everyone. And we have Drea back here tonight, Brown Girl Boston. And the title of our show tonight is called Live from Tuskegee. And we're gonna discuss some things, and being able to discuss what we're going to discuss as far as the jab. Um, we're not telling anybody to be pro or anti the jab. It's your choice. Everything is your choice. We're just gonna speak on some factual stuff, and as well as Drea, for you guys in the chat, Drea is someone who practices numbers, understanding the season that we're in, the season that we're going to. Um, for a lot of people in the chat, a lot of the supporters of the show, this is also the year of the woman. So Drea is going to explain what that really means and what it means going forward. Um, I intend that the show should be very interesting, and the reason why is because Drea hasn't been on the show in a while, and I had to really get on. I had to really get on her, but I know right now, Drea. For those in the chat that don't know, Drea is a graduate of Tuskegee University, as well as she is a professor at Tuskegee University presently. So I had to wait until midterms to get this young lady on the show. I mean, she does her own thing on her own channel, and she don't even post her stuff on her channel. She'll post on Instagram and then decide to put it on her channel. So just know that sometimes we have people on the show that will give us their expertise because they're well read from academia. Dre is one of them people from the academia side, as well as physically. She sees Tuskegee every day with her own eyes. So a lot of Tuskegee has been in the news lately because of what's going on with the jab and our history, African Americans' history, foundational Black Americans' history with the medical field. A lot of misconceptions have been put out there, right, wrong, or indifferent. Whether you're pro or whether you're pro or anti, it's been a lot of bad or low quality information. So Dre is going to give us some expertise and basically to her ability because she has a career she has to protect, and she not only represents this university as an employee. This is her alma mater, and she's very proud of this university and what it stands for.
Exactly. No, thank you.
What's going on?
What's going on, Q? What's up? Let's talk tribe. Back in the building. Thank you for having me again. So let's get into it. So I just want to put the disclaimer out there. When we talk about the jab, it's up to you and your family. Do what's best for you and your family. When it comes to your health, period. Whether it's about getting a jab or even if you want to get tested. But I think everyone should definitely boost your immune system. Be healthy holistically, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and also pray about it. If you believe in the higher power, definitely consult your spirit guides or whoever you believe in. So let's talk about like the Tuskegee experiment, right? And I think a lot of times people have this misconception about Tuskegee experiment. So Macon County is pretty much a 90% African American county, one of the poorest counties in Alabama. When they did the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, mind you, it was on a lot of Black farmers, right? So we went from having 98% Black farmers, especially in the South, and where Tuskegee is located in the Black Belt. The reason why it's called the Black Belt, mainly African Americans reside there, and also too the soil is very rich there. So people that didn't know anything about the Black Belt, that's why it's called that. So of course, when you have land is money, land is currency, and when you have all this land and you have the dominant culture, looking at it like, I'm trying to profit off these people, but how can we have a genocide? So that pretty much what happened with the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. So they went into these areas in Tuskegee and actually in Macon County, and injected syphilis into these. Could have been some of our ancestors. We don't know that. Could have been some of mine since my parents are from Alabama, and really just injected syphilis, which caused blindness, which caused all type of issues, right? And kind of wiped away an entire generation of Black men and Black people. And so they kind of denied to the last minute access to the hospital on Tuskegee University campus. We had a hospital on campus in which mainly a lot of people who are baby boomers are actually born on campus. And so that was the only hospital that Tuskegee had. Like, we don't even have
Let
a
me let
hospital
me
there.
let me ask you, Drea, before you continue. Explain to some of us that may not know the significance of this university and what this university means as far as the HBCU circuit,
Mhm.
as well as that particular area.
Got it. Okay, so let's talk. I'm gonna give you guys a quick history. So General Fiskell was the principal of Hampton Institute, which is our sister school. Picked Booker T. Washington to become the first principal of Tuskegee Institute. Now, mind you, he's a co-founder. He's not a founder. Lewis Adams, a Black gentleman who owned the land where Tuskegee University now sits at, which is like over 100+ acres of land, owned this land. And so when General Fiskell found out, he said, okay, I want to create a school that mirrors Hampton. So he sent Booker T. Washington down there, and the rest is history. He met Lewis Adams, and that's how they created Tuskegee School for Normal Colors. That's the name of the school, the name of the first school, right? And so, and I'm gonna plug this in. And when Booker T. Washington actually came down, started Tuskegee, the first person he called back and said, I want this person to be pretty much, like my ride or die, my sidekick, was his first wife, Olivia Davidson. So that's why I'm gonna go back to why it's the year of the woman, because like pretty much she also helped, was a trailblazer for education, for seamstress, and the different majors that Tuskegee had at the time. So a lot of people don't know about that. They're thinking, oh, Booker T. Washington is the founder. No, we just had our Founders Day, July 4th, 1881. So if you guys follow me, I said the only thing I recognize on July 4th is the founding of Tuskegee University. Booker T. Washington also coined the phrase Black Wall Street in Tulsa. A lot of people don't know that neither, because in 1920 he started the Black business, pretty much like an institute where all Black people who were business owners, they had like their own, I like to say like collective of Black folks from Tulsa, and it's another Black Wall Street as well. And what's my other place? Durham, North Carolina. That was also a Black Wall Street, and it's a Black Wall Street that was in Birmingham, Alabama as well, and we can talk about that too. So he got these collective of Black folks and said, hey, we're going to have a Black business collaborative. You can look it up, and that was actually the best time in which Black people was actually living their best lives. And so even in Durham, North Carolina, that pushed. I forgot the founder's name of North Carolina Central University. That pushed him to start that university there in Durham. Because, at one point, one half of Durham, which is called the Hayes High neighborhood, was all Black, but that was also instituted, and set off by Booker T. Washington.
Okay. And so the land was real rich. A lot of farmers. The blacks were the majority of the town, a major black town. So a lot of people think like they just experimented with a jab, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
Explain what now you a lot of people may have read books, read history, things passed down. Explain exactly from the university standpoint, because the hospital is part of the campus, what exactly happened and what continues to be part of the research department down there.
Got it. So pretty much, like I said, we had a hospital on campus. And so, which was ran by 98% African American doctors, nurses, and things of that nature. So it was like, hey, why can't we not go out into the community and, cure syphilis? And so they got blocked, because guess what? When the Jab Instituters, inventors came down, which was mainly what? White folks. came in, provided the jab to, like I said, our ancestors. Their access to these communities was blocked. Until they was dying, that's when they had accessibility to come on campus. Now, mind you, our third president was also, a lot of people don't know it is, FBI informant. And I think it was Patterson. I want to say it was Patterson. I may be wrong. He was an FBI informant, was actually a president, a long-standing president, and was spying like, how can this Black institution be the epicenter of, what in this terms, Black excellence, right? Or just the epicenter of research and creating all these educators and doctors and George Washington Carver. He's considered as the Wizard of Tuskegee. How is this happening at this one institution? So hence why, the jab was instituted, onto our ancestors, the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, and their access, which was very sad and unethical, was, provided. If anyone ever, been to graduate school or did any type of research, that's why you have the IRB board. The IRB board is pretty much, I just have to do my renewal today on any type of study that you're doing, any type of grant that you're doing when it comes to people. You have to go through a certification to make sure that you're not doing any unethical practices or you're not harming any participants while you're going through any type of study on, research or any type of, let's say, digital literacy, whatever the case is. So that's how the IRB board actually got started, was through the Tuskegee syphilis study, because there was no informed consent. So when you don't have an informed consent, guess what? You can go and do the jab on anybody and just who knows what.
One of the issues I know that had came up lately was information basically where people were saying, no, these people got syphilis and they were refused medication. And then some people tried to say, no, they were given the syphilis as like basically test dummies. And then some people said it was only 14 to 30 people. What is the university's position, and what do we know from research? How many people, and what exactly did they give to people syphilis and refuse the medication, or did they give them, or how was it? You can explain it.
So you know how, like, if anybody who's a researcher or a scientist, you have different control groups, right? So you have group A, group B, in a control group, placebo. So pretty much group A, they already had it, according to what we was taught. Group B, they was injected. Group C, okay, let's give them that placebo shot, could have been filled with water, and see how they're going to react to it. Now, mind you, let's say group A was the ones who already had it. They have a mild symptom that could have been curable, right? But once again, once you have inaccessibility to medical practices, of course, it's going to intensify and actually manifest into, throughout your body. Group B was injected. Once again, group A, let's say group A was the ones who were, mind you, the whole group, quote unquote, they wasn't worldly educated, but they was educated in agriculture. So we're talking about not just we're giving a jab to our folks, but how can we give the jab and take their land to be government controlled, right? So that's what we was taught. But when you read more, when you read like, medical apartheid, you read more research, you're like, oh, so this is how, like I said, a generational of Black men, not only, you have the mistrust of medical facilities and physicians, they was actually lied to because they didn't have, the education. If you guys watched, what was that movie, Miss Evers Boys?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that was true, but a lot of it, of course, was also made up as well, because you got to have that sensationalism. But I would like I said, read anything when it comes to medical apartheid. That's a good book to read. If you can come on campus, we have a new museum called the Legacy Museum, in which we talk about Henrietta Lacks. We talk about Tuskegee syphilis study, where my department is located. We're actually located in the old hospital. We don't have the nearest hospital we have to go to. Let's say, even when I was a student, is either Auburn, which is 15-30 minutes away, or you have to go to Montgomery, which is 30 minutes or 45 minutes away. So why is that?
Let me ask you, and this I don't want this question to take away what we're talking about, but you brought up Henrietta Lacks and understanding her story and how her DNA has been continued being used by the medical industry without any acknowledge of her family or any financial acknowledgement. Definitely. When you begin to read this stuff and being that you're there, like you actually can go on your free time and go do some research there and see these places and see pictures, see archives, and then you share this stuff with people. Not that you're pro or anti anything. What since we've been in what we've been in the last year or so, what
Mhm.
has been their response when you tell them like I work right there, like I go to school there? What is their reaction?
A lot of people are in denial. A lot of people do not trust, um, data and research and science. People would rather trust, which is not wrong with if you believe in, conspiracy theories. And I'm like, and usually what I do is if it's my family, I take them to campus. I take them to institutions of museums so they can see for themselves. Because I'm like, I can tell you one thing, I can give you this book, but I'm gonna bring you. I call it on a field trip, and my friends know, my friends and family know. If you're gonna come visit me, we going to that part of Alabama so you can see for yourself of what as a people we have been going through. And so they're like, usually they're like, oh my god. Um, Especially I think people like around, like late 30s, early 40s, like around my age group, they think, well, I'm healthy and this, down the third, this is not going to happen to me. It's still happening to us now. But like I said, so many people, because a lot of times we're not well versed in the STEM fields, and we're not well versed in research. And here I am. That's part of my life work is researching and really looking at it from the aspect of a social sciences. People just don't believe it. And so that's why I said you gotta do what's best for you and your family, but ask questions. Don't think that the medical physicians are God. You've been in your body X amount of years. You know how your body is when your body's off. That's why you need to be connected to your body on a spiritual level. And once it's off, ask questions because everyone body works differently. Different jabs or medication may have an adverse reaction to it. So that's why you need to ask questions. But also too, we gotta sometimes go back to basics and go back to the museums and learn for yourself. And there's so much free resources out here. We even got a virtual tour. I would say go on Tuskegee.edu and go take a virtual tour of the
Mm.
Legacy Museum yourself so you can see what our people have been through when it came to being injected with different experiments.
I'm gonna ask you with being there and seeing those professors and scholars and people from high academia. I'm quite sure people all over the world still come there just to compare research with those doctors that are still there and scientists that are still there, and then seeing what's going on now with placebos and basically uh for lack of better words, tricking the immune system.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what? How do they deal with the university's position? Is always the history and the data and what happened, and that legacy can never be changed or adulterated. And then you see like what's going on now with okay, we not denying science, we're not denying technology, we're not denying advancement, but we don't want to fall back down this rabbit hole of being nobody's quote unquote jab dummy neither.
Mm-hmm.
How is that like being approached? I'm quite sure with going back to school soon in the fall, a lot of these universities are telling the kids that they have to have the jab in order to come back, which is perfectly fine for a university to do that. But how is that position like? You may have somebody that's like super anti, and they be like, out of all the universities, this should be the one university that shouldn't be like forced. How is that approach?
Well, since we're the epicenter of, the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, it's more of an autonomy thing, right? It's more like you guys are not mandated because one, we're a private institution. So when you're a private institution, you're a little bit more laid back than public institutions, right? Because public institutions like Alabama and Auburn, which is PWIs, 40, 50,000 students, they're bribing these students, right? Like, yo, we're going to give y'all a G if y'all take the jab, and then you get to get VIP parking because the school's so doggone big. And so my institution, they're trying to compete with that. And I'm like, y'all really can't compete with that because of we're a private institution, number one, we're smaller. We only have like 3,000 students. And then also, two, we're the epicenter and the hotbed of y'all always under the microscope because of what happened to these black men that you pretty much eradicated the generation after that. So that's why they're kind of lenient, but they're afraid too, like because we just got a new president. They're very afraid. They're like, oh, did we institute a mandate jab? But we
Yeah,
have all the testing. And then I had said to myself, I told my department head, I said, listen, I will be teaching at the crib, because there's no way we're going to have 10 students, because my classes usually fill up quick. I have like 25 students. There's no way we all going to fit in the classroom, and then you want me to teach in the mass all day? I'm not doing that. So I'm teaching from the crib, and I'll come
yeah,
down once a week and do my office hours. But I think they should give people the autonomy. But now they're trying to, like I said, you can't look at these PWIs because they get more funding from the state of Alabama. We get slim to none funding because we're a private institution. We get funding from different foundations. So
yeah. I
yeah.
seen something on the news this week where you know, and I know that we sometimes tend to speak without really knowledge or speak without the proper information. And I saw where one guy who actually went to school down that way. He not Alabama, but the LSU area,
Hmm.
and he was basically saying, "Oh, the Tuskegee, they just no, they had it, and they denied them medication." And I'm like, "That's not what happened." And
Right.
with that, and I don't want the show to all be about the jab or the anti-jab or the pro-jab, but it's important for us to get the information and to know our bodies and understand. Even when you say placebo, I don't think a lot of us may understand what placebo meant 2 years ago, and now we're starting to learn. Even the layman is starting to learn more about the body, more about the immune system, knowing how to strengthen your immune system, knowing what particular company
Hmm.
has the jab, what why you some companies you may have to take it one dose or two dose, and just getting educated. And it is okay to ask your primary doctor or whatever, and knowing your body, knowing how your body reacts to any medication.
Hmm.
So you have mentioned the year of the woman, and I know that one of the things that you're strong with is the numbers. And I know a lot of people be like, you know, I don't know if I believe in this. And I always try to tell people that um who are religious is that sometimes this is part of a science or whatever that a lot of people don't understand. That you basically everything happens for a reason and
Hmm.
everything coincides with each other. So they may not understand how these particular numbers are like as me and your number is the same. It's a core four. And like a lot of people may not understand what that means and how that core number affects our lives and how we live. So
Right.
you was mentioning the year of the woman. What did you mean by the year of the woman? And what does that mean?
It don't have to even do with the numbers. It's just look at how what happened. We have a vice president that's a woman, right? A lot of these institutions, a lot of HBCUs are shifting from the good old boy black system to like now it's a lot of black women that are in leadership. Even in your cities like Atlanta, you got Keisha Lance Bottoms. I think the DC mayor, Bowser, or I think Baltimore, wherever. But it's you seeing a lot of power shifts. Even in where I was born and raised out in Boston, they had just have their first black mayor, and I'm like, oh my, I'm shocked because it's an Irish city. That's a whole nother topic of discussion, right? So we're seeing a lot of power shifts when it comes to the feminine energy. But just because you may see the feminine energy, are they leading from the feminine energy, or are they carrying on a masculine energy, right? And I think a lot of times, and this is no disrespect to my sisters, we don't know how to lead from a feminine energy. We think we can be in our masculine bag. You have a balance. Sometimes we don't do well in our masculine bag. We have to balance it out and lead from a feminine energy perspective. And we're not I don't see that. I don't see that at all.
For those in the chat, Drea has been a supporter of mine and a supporter of the channel since the beginning, and she had did a show right before COVID. Oh, excuse me, I didn't mean to say that, but right before the pandemic, and she says some things, and if you go back to the show that was done, she says some things about what the year could expect. Basically, she was talking about the year was going to be a year of clarification. A lot of death and a lot of things are going to be exposed. So, not saying that she's prophesizing anything. She's just basically reading the numbers as they come. She doesn't make up the numbers. She's just reading the numbers, and um, she does do readings for people, and you can give them your Gmail address for them for a private consultation, Drea. And it's very important that we understand what she's going into now, with understanding taking on for a male taking on that feminine energy, and for a female taking on the masculine energy. You could finish, Drea.
Yeah. So we're in a universal year five. So five is freedom. Five is if you're vibrating low, confusion. So you see a lot of this beef going on. Oh, the black women versus the black men. It's a lot of confusion. And if you are not really grounded, you're gonna be like, F them black men. Hence why you see a lot of confusion with CDC. Should you wear your mask? Should you not wear your mask? Wear your mask today. So you're seeing that even when it comes to gender wars, which I don't participate in because we need one another first and foremost, okay? And we have to allow men to be men. And I think a lot of us haven't been brought up with our fathers or grandfathers or masculine energy. And then a lot of times as women, we've been taught you need to be independent, you need to be self-sufficient. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're trying to have a life partner, a marriage mate, you have to let that man be the man and vet him. And he needs to vet you too, sis, because you're not right either. So you see a lot of this going on because a lot of confusion. People are losing their everlasting mind when it comes to mental health, physical health. A lot of people are, clocking out of here because of hopelessness, because they're like, I cannot see through this unclarity. It's a lot of instability. It's a lot of unclarity because, like I said, when you're vibrating low, we're at a vibrational low of five. So you're seeing the confusion. You're seeing the addictions. You're seeing sex is getting out of control, alcoholism, drugs is really out of control, and people are really videotaping these violence and these abuse, self-abuse, self-violence, and violence with one another. Because yes, we do have that in the Black community. So it's out of control. So I don't suggest anyone, to get into a relationship at this point in time until you get yourself together. You need to get clear on who you are, your values, what do you stand for before you even open your mouth and disrespect another person, or just even disrespect yourself. This is the time to really get clear on who you are, to really sit down, get grounded in something, because it's not going to get any better. Things are going to get worse. We're going to have some lockdowns are going to come. So you better get yourself all the way.
Speaking to that, right? I was amazed that with the pandemic and them starting to open things up. I think that a lot of us didn't understand the ramifications of the pandemic. That a lot of things were only opened up because financially they had to open up, and then now we're seeing a rise with this different variant, and anything that anybody that knows anything about viruses start taking a life of their own. So it's going to continue to be different variants going forward. The ramifications of the pandemic is the mental health, the addiction, and so forth and so on. When we speak to that, do you think, because you've been on plenty of times, for those that are part of the audience, you've been on and we've discussed mental health because that was your major, and that's what you focus in. Do you think like we just seen Simone bow out of the Olympics, and it was a lot of discussion about that, and you see a lot of the athletes are saying like, "Yo, I can't do it," because I think that a lot of times we don't understand the pressures of what they go through, and then we as regular people, we put a burden on them that they don't ask for.
Mm-hmm.
For lack of better words, they should just be in a situation where they could be an athlete and a human being, a mother, a father, a daughter, a sister, a son. How how is everything going far as the mental health field? Like, is it it's a major uptick, right?
It's a major uptake, and just even in my personal business of doing coaching and doing like grief counseling, it's heavy because people don't know what to do with this grief, because we are going through some type of PTSD and some type of grief, because either we may have lost a loved one or loved ones. We may have lost a job. We may have lost a source of income. We may have lost marriages, relationships, going through a divorce. That's me. And you're like, yo, what do I do? Where do I go from here? And especially if you're feeling the symptoms of not just only, oh my God, I gotta wear this mask, I gotta protect myself, do I get the jab? To now, mentally, that's weighing on you. And then you're going to see the different symptoms of like anxiety, depression. A lot of people are going through depression, paranoia, all type of symptoms that's manifesting because people are really just internalizing the grief. Everyone I know that's in the mental health field is like, yo, the business is outrageous. They have to refer out because they can't contain the caseload that they have. And you start feeling the secondary trauma from people when you start working with them, when you hear all this stuff, because people would have to sit they behind down and think, yo, I was in this toxic relationship for X amount of years. How did I thrive? You didn't thrive. You was on survival mode. That's why you've been exhausted. So many people are burnt out because people didn't have a break. People had to work throughout the pandemic, right? So it's just you're seeing a lot of rise in mental health. And then for the athletes, you're talking about they have to be perfectionism one-on-one. When you're doing gymnastics, I never did gymnastics. I did ballet for like 13 years of my life. You have to be damn near perfect. You have to like really stick to those moves perfectly, because if one move, you can end your career by tearing an Achilles, or even better yet, breaking your neck, whatever the case is. So with Simone Biles, people don't know she also dealt with the sex. I think she was sexually assaulted. Then
Mm-hmm.
I think she was a foster care child. So who knows if she dealt with that? She's been separated from her family and her boyfriend because they couldn't travel. So you're talking about a lot of coping at what? She's in her 20s. Your brain don't fully develop, honestly. People say 25, 26. Not, I just learned, I was in a workshop, not until we're in our 30s. So you're talking about you got to make these quick decisions quick. And on top of you got to be on point and perform, and you got to be a perfectionist, right? Same way with what's the other young lady's name? Naomi
And then
Osaka.
with soccer, yeah.
You have to be perfect day in, day out. You got to be perfect. Your mechanics got to be perfect. Your form got to be perfect. That weighs on you. And especially, and I think they're both kind of like highly intuitive and like sensitive, young ladies, and you can tell. And so when you don't have that support around you and people like, you got to be on, and people want this, oh, I want to be an athlete, I want to be an entertainer. No, you don't. They want our life.
One
Because
one
that's
one of
constant.
the things, right, Joe? One of the things that I wanted to discuss, right, was um, we had discussed a little bit behind the scenes, and I think it ties into being able to maintain and get back to that mental balance is practicing celibacy and fasting. You said something very key when you were talking about a lot of people were just in a survival mode, and then once they get themselves back, they realize like, oh, I was bugging, I was in an unhealthy situation, and now I got myself back together. Explain, like, because I think a lot of people don't understand that. Even like when we talk about spirituality, a lot of the organized religions believe in fasting, and most people think it's more just a food thing, and
Right.
don't understand that for people that fast, it's more a spirituality thing, more of a self discipline, and even celibacy is a form of fasting. You fasting from sex.
Mm-hmm.
Explain how that ties in with recalibrating your spiritual being.
Right. So what we talked about behind the scenes of just even fasting from sex, abstaining from sex, I think everyone should do it. That's just resetting your body because when you're celibate, you're focused on yo, what was I addicted? Because we could be addicted to sex, right? And also too, when you are resetting your body and not creating soul ties. See, people be like, "Oh, I can do casual sex." Yeah, but also too, you're creating soul ties, and you're so distracted because you got that oxy, what's that? I forgot what it's called, but that bonding chemical, and you just worry about what this person's doing over here instead of focusing on you. And a lot of times we're not meant to do casual, sex, especially if you believe, like I said, it doesn't have to be the Bible. It could be just having a spiritual belief. It's like, yeah, you're supposed to be evenly yoked, and you taking on that energy of that person when they're inside you, and when you letting them inside yourself, right? And so that's why it's very key to be celibate, so you can reset yourself. Even Queen of Fool talked about this on the Red Table. She talked about being celibate. So you,
Which I was. It's funny you brought that up because I was shocked that they had her on Red Table.
I was
Not that they can't have the Queen up there, but I was shocked that they would even know who she was. But this is why you can't put nothing past people, and people be paying attention. For anybody that don't know who Queen Afua is, she has a very big following on Instagram. She is a beautiful woman. Her son is my guy. He speaks real. He's like her like enforcer and her spokesperson because he's more out than he is
exactly
supernova. So
right.
with that, with them being on there, and she was talking about that on the red table, and like I said, I was surprised. So finish, Dre. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine. She was talking about, taking a sex fast, whether it's like 10 days to really just get back around it and focus on yourself, which is true because as women, we take on a lot. We take on a lot of energy. So do men as well, but we take on a lot. We have our womb to protect ourselves. And also, too, our womb is not just to, hold babies, but it's also to be creative beings. And one book that I have read because I had dealt with fibroids was Overcome Her Angry Vagina. This is by Queen of Four, a life changing book, and I also, read Sacred Woman. But Overcoming the Angry Vagina was talking about why a lot of Black women are suffering from fibroids, and that's even upticking as well because of the emotional abuse, the racism. Like I said, going into this world and being microaggression, micro insults, micro everything. We deal with so much racism as a people that we internalize it because we're working for people that we absolutely hate. We're overworking ourselves and we're not really nurturing our bodies. And you shouldn't give your body to any and everybody. Like I said, you shouldn't do casual sex. You should abstain from it. But that's my opinion. You can do what you want to do with your body.
Well, let me ask you. Speaking about that, and we both believe that sex is a transfer of energy, transfer of not only just the physical fluids, but it's a transfer of things that we can't see. I'm gonna ask you: do you think that the energy is a bigger impact on the woman because she has more, as we would say, emotion, and the man would kind of like, he might get some energy and be like, "Oh, I'm just shrug it off. It ain't nothing. I pay it no mind." That's just I'm just not. I'm just even kilter. I slept messed up, or I rolled over on the wrong side of the bed with these phrases that we come up with. And with a woman, because she is basically the source of emotion, if she takes on this um bad energy from the individual, how do you think that she handles it a little bit different?
I think as women we do handle it a little bit different because we have a lot of different hormones. We're the nurturers. We we like love, and we take on a lot of different energies whether we want to believe it or not. Like I said, going back to on the job, especially if you an empath. Oh my God, I take on so many different energies, and I have to make sure I protect myself from those energies. So that's why I say when women be like, "Oh, I don't care. I'm gonna treat dudes like how they treat me." No, sis. Like you are sacred. You have a womb. When you start dabbling into that, and then you're like, "Why am I having so many gynecological issues?" Because you're taking on too many spirits, and especially life forces. If you're not practicing protective sex, and this dude, ejaculate in you, and you're taking on that, and you got all these different chemicals even in semen. And I think a lot of times we don't do the research when it comes to even knowing our bodies. A lot of times we don't know our bodies as women, and we are mimicking what, unfortunately, what's in the songs or what's in our environment. You don't have to mimic that. You can be better than that. But I also feel like when you are mimicking that, because you are thinking sex doesn't equate love. Dudes can go have sex with everybody on the block, and they don't care what sis look like, as long as you got a working vagina. Okay.
Sex doesn't equate love.
No.
That's the phrase of the show. So let me ask you. I think that a lot of times, like you're saying, we're not as um, explorative with our bodies or as graphic, because when you say that even a male has all these millions of sperm cells, and that's just one male, and y'all exchanging fluids. Now you got the good guy. You got all types of characteristics that could potentially uh, communicate with an egg and make a human being. It's just interesting if you look at it like for the literal sense. Like if you are a person that may choose to have multiple sex partners, how you're taking on thousands and thousands of different of energies,
Right.
different characteristics and whatever. So based upon like we discussed the year of the woman, and I know that you was telling me like 2021 is going kind of fast, but it's like it's gonna still tell us some different things going forward.
Mm-hmm. It is. It is. And we just have to pay attention. And we just, like I said, have to be very clear. So that's why we need to be very disciplined. Also, too, this is a year we should be all creative. So whatever that you had abandoned creatively, you should definitely tap back into that. That's why I think I mentioned this on the last show. Like, definitely journal, definitely read more, read things that you never read before, like a different genre. Listen to different music, move your body, really tap into that creativity. Do paint, something that's going to be self expressive, change your wardrobe, because we're going to need something that's going to protect our mental health and find an outlet to cope. That's what the problem is. People don't know how to cope. And so they thinking coping is, oh, let me go ahead. There's nothing wrong with drinking. You're overindulging in drinking. Because when you're dealing with the lower five energy, it's overindulgence. And then it turns into an addiction and a dependency. So that's why I'm telling everyone, make sure that you're not on that level. Yeah, we're going to slip from time to time, no doubt. We're not perfect. But, make sure that you start your days off on point, whether it's through prayer, whether it's through reading some type of devotion, whether it's doing affirmations. Do not be like, oh my God, I fell off, and you just gonna keep falling off. Get yourself back on the wagon and don't beat yourself up. So you just have to be honest with yourself. And like I said, with my sisters, I get it. They pushing this the year of the woman, but we still need balance. We still need the brothers. And every dude is not bad. A lot of times we just don't ask the questions. We need to ask the right questions to vet them, and even look at the right people. Tell us who they are. That's my favorite quote from Maya Angelou. People tell us who they are. We just have to pay attention. And a lot of times we get caught on, oh, he cute, oh, he's 6'5", or sis got a booty and she could have been built. Get beyond that. Look at her soul. When you look at her eyes, does she have a soul? Like, or she just blank? And then people get caught up with, I got finessed by this person. No, you allowed them to finesse you because you were so open and free. Create boundaries. That's another thing I want to talk about too. Don't let it's okay. People gonna talk all this trash on social media. Are they paying your bills? No. So sometimes we can't engage with these low level people because they gonna take you up out of here. You got more to lose than that person you're gonna be arguing with. Create boundaries. So also too, when we talked about a detox, take a social media detox because social media, you've been noticing the algorithms have been crazy. So you're gonna see a lot of algorithms gonna be crazy. A lot of this is scamming season. Make sure that whatever apps you're not using on your phone, take them off because people are out here scamming, taking money out your account, and you don't even know it. So make sure
One
you
one of the things that Drea just said about the algorithm, and I always tell people to make sure that they hit the like. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And if you're on Facebook, I always tell people make sure they hit the love button and to share it. Let me tell you why she said that about the algorithm. The algorithm is silent. And when I mean silent, it's not a person. It is the AI. It is the computer. And what the computer does, it markets you.
mm-hmm.
And this is what she's saying when you're, say, for example, you're watching someone's page or you're on someone's page and you're intermingling with the person. Then all of a sudden, now that page that you never intermingled in is always in your thread
Mm-hmm.
because the algorithm has figured you out that this is what you like. So
Right.
then you're on the phone and you're on the phone sharing something with somebody like, yo, I really want to get this new car. You ain't thinking about it. Your phone has a microphone. It's a smartphone. It's connected to Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That algorithm has picked up that you had a conversation about a car, and now the algorithm has got car dealerships all on your thread. It sounds crazy when you think about it, but the algorithm is a marketing tool
Mm-hmm.
that social media has figured out. As somebody, Drea, for you guys that don't know, Drea is an influencer. She has her own page. She's been doing it for a while, way before me. And they teach us, you can get into these groups and they teach us how to market what we're trying to do. Some
Right.
people take it serious, some people don't. They just do content and just word of mouth. A lot of you guys that I've shared things with, celebrities come with a certain amount of following. So
Mm-hmm.
they don't really have to do and start a page organically.
Right.
We go from one subscriber to how many, and it's usually slow because of the algorithm. The algorithm has to pick up on your audience and understand who you like. So dealing with social media, like she said, that algorithm picks up. It doesn't pick up whether the energy is good or bad. It
Right.
just picks up what you have been feeding it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've been feeding it a bunch of junk, it's gonna feed you a bunch of junk. You're gonna see a lot of things like, yo, why does mess on my timeline all the time? Because
And
this is what you've been feeding it.
right.
I'm quite sure you guys figured it out, and you got a lot of you guys that's in the chat is way smarter than me, and you see it, you see it a lot. Go ahead,
Right.
Dre.
Exactly. And also too, on a low, a lot of people don't know this. I'm a tech person. I teach computer technology, um, for my department. So it's a lot of stuff that you have to be careful, even with cybersecurity, even with cyber attacks that we're seeing now. Like you mentioned, Q, about AI and even different bots. So make sure even when you at work, you turn on your two-way authenticity to make sure that no one is not breaching your emails, which they can hack into your email, into your whole company's email, and expose everything about from your contact information, your social security number, everything like that. So just be careful when you're using technology and that you're putting those extra securities in place because people are out here have actual like systems and processes in place that is waiting to, if you've seen a lot of people getting their pages cloned because people have operation cloning that is pretty much mirroring your profile and actually extorting money from your followers. So just be
Yes, it's amazing because you'll see a bunch of people. And it's always the same people talking about, yo, they hacked my account. It's always the same people,
all the
and
same
then
people.
it's people that have had the same Facebook profile, same picture since 2009 when basically Facebook took off. And you'll be like, yo, I had my account for such as they never got me. So sometimes we think that we're special, so they didn't get us. It's not that. It's a lot of things that we do subconsciously that will expose ourselves to hacking and professional hacking. I don't want to get into too much of the tech. I'm not really tech savvy like Drea. But just be real mindful of that. And as she said, transferring the algorithm basically, let's just say it's energy right now.
Right, right. Exactly. So I suggest everyone to like do like an entire detox of your timeline, do an entire detox of like even your social media, the apps that you have on your phone, even your closet. Also, too, let's talk about your closet really quick. This is the time to pack light. You know, I think Erica Badu talked about bag lady. Pack light, because you need to get prepared for emergency. You know, just being prepared for emergency. So I suggest everyone should have your ID, your social security number, and also to your birth certificate, passport, and like a waterproof like bag or something, and have at least like a week a supply of food. So it could be canned goods, something that you can pop the top open, have emergency toiletries as well, because just with the different flooding, the climate change, everything of that nature, you just never know when you have to just be prepared to run out your crib.
I
Um,
shared some I shared some information last week that NASA, the scientists, said that in the year 2030 we're gonna have what we're calling they're predicting they're gonna have what they call a jumping moon. A jumping moon creates massive flooding. This is in 2030. It's 2021. If you
exactly.
ask me, and those of us that may have been outside during certain storms in the last month or so, I'm just going to speak for me. They have not been regular storms.
No.
So just be mindful of this stuff, and like Drea said, it's a state of preparedness, and be able to put yourself and your family and your loved ones in a good situation at a moment's notice.
Exactly. So, you know, definitely be prepared. Also to prepare your body. You know, you gotta sometimes, you know, can you walk a mile? If you can't walk a mile, you need to stop preparing yourself walking a mile. You also too, for those who can carry, um, be licensed to carry, get your gun, go to the
Drea, I'm gonna ask you a question.
I said that on here.
I stumbled. No. You're good. I stumbled on this video, and I hear you talking all this quote unquote mess. But why I gotta be prepared? What the heck is she talking about? She's a conspiracy theorist. I don't want to believe none of that stuff. Da, 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 da. Explain what is going on.
Explain what's going on. To be honest with you, I'm gonna sound like a real old school Southern person. We in the last days, okay? So anything, we all can get it. And when I say we all can get it, I'm talking about Black people. Black people, we are not prepared. Period. And we are in a war. So what's my Mob Deep? Is a war going on outside? No one's prepared for it. That's Black folks. We not prepared at all, because we're like, oh, I'm gonna forgive these people. These people out here teaching their kids how to shoot guns at 2, 3 years old. I live in the Southern states. Like I said, my parents are from the South. Um, so we're used to, you know, being in the state prepared. And also too, if you guys watch my videos, how I talked about living a simple life, you need to learn how to live a simple life, because everyone's talking about, I'm gonna get the bag, I'm gonna get this. How is the bag gonna help you when your ass gonna have to be running a mile or two, because you know climate change, like we just talked about, Q, your house is getting flooded. How are you gonna have an escape plan? What is your escape plan anyways? What if you can't get your car out the garage? What are you gonna do? Do you have a backup plan? It's not because this is a conspiracy theory. This is facts. Because just the way that the climate is, just the climate weather, the climate even with people, people just not in their right mind, you're gonna have to protect yourself by any means necessary. You're gonna have to say no a lot of times. That's why I said if you can get you know, find ways to protect yourself, take a self-defensive class, get in shape, because you're gonna have to really, it's gonna be survival of the fittest. That's the time we're on, survival of the fittest. So you don't got time to be, yeah, it's okay. I like to be cute too. It's not time to always be cute. Sometimes you're gonna have to throw on the Timbs and have to beat down somebody to protect yourself, because people are
For
out of work, people are hungry, people are gonna come knock on your door and say you got the jab. So you're gonna have to really protect yourself holistically, like I said, spiritually, physically, emotionally, because we are in the trenches, and I don't think people understand that. People want to party.
Even the numbers with the pro and anti and how they're trying to start a war between pro and anti, we need to be mindful of. And when Drea speaks about the weather, and I mentioned the jumping moon, for those that like to do a lot of research, just look up HARP. Just look up HARP. We ain't gonna be on no conspiracy stuff. Just look up HARP, the HARP machine, and what it does, and
Right.
you could kind of figure it out from there.
Exactly. And just even a quick tidbit, like, for you all have read the news about what's going on in Dubai. I know that's a hot spot everybody's traveling to. My cousin is actually, her and her husband's in Dubai right now. They was like, yo, it is extremely hot, and how they have to have like tamper with the weather there for it to rain. And she was like, yo, this is true. This is what's going on here. And I'm like, oh my God. So that's why I said you need to read. Don't read to be like, I'm cool, it's cool. I got this book club. Read to comprehend what's going on. So as many times just scrolling on Facebook or on social media, that's the many times you need to be reading. Now, I don't mean you got to watch the news. Read all type of alternative different news sources too. Read anything from, what's going on, nationally, locally, but also universally, because we're all universally connected, whether you want to believe it or not. Because we may say, oh my God, look at the typhoon that happened in Asia. Who said it can't happen here? It can happen here too. So you have to make sure that you are just being protected. And make sure your family's protected too. That's important. But because that's your unit. That's the people who is really, hopefully that's your cool with your family, or your people who you call your family, your tribe. Y'all gotta protect one another, because it's already going down. And I think a lot of times we just want to celebrate mediocrity. No.
Well, Drea, look, I really appreciate you giving me some of your precious time. I told you, I missed you, and the platform misses you. We you more than welcome to come on anytime
But thank
and share your information with us. And we see you. We know you there. I always try to share and rebroadcast all your lives, because I know you try to keep the tribe aware of what's going on. And like I said, always with what I'm trying to do, you have definitely been a day one supporter of what I'm trying to do. And our friendship was the beginning of something. My life has definitely changed since our friendship, and
you. Right. I too.
you definitely were part of that change. This thing has taken on a whole new meaning.
I know.
So appreciate you. You want to give us any final words?
No, just make sure that you protect yourselves and you guys find a way to live a simple life, which can be, really dope. So, don't be in competition with anyone. Just focus on you, your health, and, stay focused and disciplined. So that's it.
With that, everybody in the chat, have a good, blessed week. Thanks for watching us. Remember, like, share, and subscribe. That's the best way to support the channel and support what we're trying to do. Like, share, and subscribe.
Peace.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's show. Please continue to join us here for conversations on hot topics, interviews with special guests, and our featured programs such as the Poetry Corner, where you can hear dope poets from around the country creating that poet cafe vibe, and Crown Rules, our virtual book club on love, intimacy, and healthy relationships. Let's talk. We are everywhere you want to be. Follow us on YouTube at Let's Talk, Facebook at Let's Talk, and on Instagram at Let's Talk 1931. Have a suggestion? Give us a call at 570-795-4283. Or for business inquiries, please email us at ltalk5600@gmail. Let's talk. I wore to you, you wore to me, and we go together. Please don't forget